Tonight is April the 16th, and this is Management 3025 with our usual standing room only crowd. The question was raised about what are the materials you are to be comfortable with for the final exam, and that would be the second half of the Kanicki book, chapters 9 through 16, and the assigned remaining chapters in Caproni, which is not all the chapters but selected ones, and there are questions in the study bank for those selected chapters. Those two things and the calculations. The calculation that you will see this time that you did not see the first time is on Breakeven, and we'll run through one or two of those tonight. And you will again see some time value of money calculations. Are any of you taking GEB 1011, Intro to Business?
Is that the one? I think I might be taking it.
Dr. Stevenson teaches?
Mm-hmm.
He left me a phone call today. He said some of your organizational management students are taking Intro to Business as an elective. And he says, I introduced the time value of money today to them. And so they flipped out their calculators and were explaining it to me. He says, I know it cold.
That was me.
Good. You didn't tell me who it was. Good. That was good to hear.
I have a question.
You have a question. Were you so far in the back I can't hardly hear you?
You just said 9 through 12, but we also have this as well. Is that not going to be
9 through 16.
Oh, 9 through 16. This is not, and this doesn't have chapters on it. It just says
That's-
test training for final exam 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you look in the Kanicki book, there's 16 chapters, I believe, and
Okay.
we cover all of them.
So good. I need both of these. I thought I was studying for nothing.
Don't want to be studying for nothing. Good. All right, anybody else? Any kind of comments or questions?
Cool. So all the financial calculations plus break even.
Yes.
Okay.
All the time value of money plus break even.
Okay.
Plus Kanicki 9 through 16 plus Caproni remaining chapters. And what was the Caproni question you asked me a moment ago? It's on chapter 4?
What is the single most common barrier to communication that managers experience?
What is the single most common barrier to communication that managers experience? And there is no definitive school answer in Caproni. If you're looking for that phrasing and a sweet 2-3 sentence answer, and you spend instead 2 hours going through the book, I win. Because that's the real reason I wrote that question, because I wanted you to have to dig through that book and get as much out of it as you can. And so the bottom line is there is no definitive school answer. There are each of us, some personal answers based on our experiences and the things we recall maybe from our reading. And the one we just discussed a minute ago, from my personal point of view, biggest barrier to communication in any setting is fear. Either the fear to sit down and talk about difficult things, or the fear to the fear of stopping doing all the nonsense things you're doing and taking some time out and having a real communication with somebody, or the two of those things interacting together. The other thing is that fear too often makes us very emotional in our communications, and if you don't do anything else out of this course, remember that you never criticize, critique, or in any other way communicate negatively with someone when you're emotional. And that goes for raising kids to managing people. And that is an absolute law that absolutely every one of us breaks periodically, because when we get under stress, we tend to give voice. But to the extent we learn to master our emotions, we know that something goes on. There is a trigger that triggers our emotional response. And then there's a response. And for some people, it's just built in. What do you do when you're driving in traffic and the left turn lane, you know it's going to be close, and the guy in front of you with the light still green sneaks up and stops? And you come up behind him. What do you do? Without thinking. You know, do you lay on the horn?
No.
Do you say a bad word?
Yes.
Oh, a couple of them, yeah.
A road rage.
Well, happened to me years ago at University and 13th, one of the busiest intersections in town. I was trying to make the light to the left turn, but it turned yellow. I still had, 15 yards to go. I stopped. The guy pulls up behind me on his brakes, screeching and laying on the horn, and with no conscious thought, I did that. I don't need it, man, And then I realized what I did, and I thought, oh my God, how big do you suppose he is? I can get my butt. We have triggers and responses. But in between the two, when we learn to develop it, there is a delay. Okay? And if you learn to identify that delay and watch it, you can learn to lengthen it and not respond emotionally. And for me, the way it's happened is thinking about it a lot, talking about it a lot. When I get myself into that sort of situation and I'm ready to respond emotionally, I'm almost out of my body watching myself. And if I can control it, I'll then laugh at myself. Say, you almost blew it, Strickland. Keep it under control. And I think that's something we all have to work on. And it's part of the difference in this course in any other principles of management course I think you're going to take. And it's a reason you have 2 textbooks. Any other principles of management course, you would have Kinnicky. Straight principles, terminology, concepts, blah, blah, blah. Pretty dry, memorize it. Some of it pretty relevant and interesting, some of it not so. But the Caproni book is a very self-reflective. When you start reading that, I hope at least, you go about 3 pages into it and you go, well, damn, I never thought about that. Does that fit what I have experienced or the way I'm doing things? And it's making you look back at yourself. And so this whole idea of being able to control our emotional responses comes from a lot of self-reflection and intentional self-improvement. None of us are perfect, but we can sure see people who have absolutely no self-control. I don't know about you, I've worked for a few people like that. Okay, so much for that sermon. What else you want to talk about? Anything else going on?
So it's still gonna be like three
3 parts.
I mean, I know 3 parts of 3 essay questions. What else?
I'm guessing I'm pretty sure there's 40 multiple choice on Kinnicky. I think there's 4 on Caproni, and they're pretty close to verbatim out of your study questions. And then there's going to be 3 or 4 or 5. I'm still debating financial calculations.
Okay.
And remember, you need a C grade or better on each separate part.
Yeah.
Okay. Think about that for a minute, if you will. And maybe I'm just rationalizing to myself. But if you worked for me and you did 90% of the critical work really well except one thing, one critical item, you didn't do that at all well. You screwed it up. How long do you think I'd keep you working for me?
Not long.
I would do the best I could to counsel you and, prepare you, coach you, and get you ready to do a better job next time. But where I come from, we don't keep people as managers who have significant failures in significant areas, even if they're real good in everything else. So the whole idea that you can take a class and do 90% of it real well, but the other part that's pretty damned important you get a 0 on, I'm sorry. No, the world doesn't play that way. So, C grade or better on everything. All right, now what? No more questions? Reminder, tomorrow night at 5:30 in C122, the SOM Business Students Organization for the OM program is having a panel discussion with 4 business people from around town. They'll be responding to different questions and bringing in some of their experiences from their different walks of life. I would encourage you strongly to attend that if you can. You may learn something from the panel discussion. You'll meet some more people in the program. You can always, sit with them and talk about the faculty or whoever else, And there's going to be free food.
Woo.
So, yeah,
Got me.
right at the right time. Just about supper time, right?
So what time it is?
5:30 in Charlie C 122.
Do you know who the panelists are?
No, I do not, and I simply don't know. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, have a second. No, get up here. Never mind. All right, you ready to do some calculations, or is there anything else on your mind? Okay. Let's do some break even for starters, okay? Simple break even.
You say it's simple. You're gonna kick the ball game up all the time.
Let's suppose that I'm a contractor who does certain types of construction or repair, home remodeling or air conditioning, pick your kind of business, okay? And so I get a crew of 3 or 4 people. I give them a truck or 2 with some materials. I get a job and I send them out to do the job. That's how my business model works in terms of, what we do. So let's say that with the people I have, I'm capable of, on the average, doing 8 projects every month, on the average. And that the average project involves for me costs for materials and labor of $1,000 and some overhead. Well, my overhead, what is overhead in a business? What do we mean when we say overhead?
Administrative costs, rent.
All of those costs that are not specifically associated with a given activity. They're the things that have to go on just for the business to go. The rent I pay, the utilities I pay, the maybe office supplies, computer repair, the kind of stuff that's got to keep going on for the business to keep going. Probably the salary I pay my office manager / bookkeeper / whatever else, and my salary if I'm not out working job to job. So I have this fixed overhead, okay? Let's say that everything added together, I figure that's costing me $70,000 a month. Have you had accounting 3024, anybody, with Mr. Hooper?
I'm in there now.
The last part of that course is on cost accounting or managerial accounting. And a lot of managerial accounting is how do I assign these costs to each job? Now, if you said every job was the same, which is the assumption I made here to make it easy, it's pretty easy. $70,000 divided by 8 projects a month, how much should each one generate? Just under $10,000. That would be my overhead cost for each job. But in fact, we know that with many jobs, some are big, some are little. How else could I assign out that overhead to a project? I could say, well, how many man hours are going into it? If I'm going to have 4 crew members, and each of them is going to work a 40-hour week, that's 160 hours. And I figure out how many hours we're going to work in a month, total man hours, and I then divide that into 70,000, and I have an overhead cost per man hour. And what that's called is allocating your overhead. How do I allocate that cost? One of the most important decisions you can make in a project-type, service-type business. Because if you don't allocate it, you may not even recover it. And if you allocate it unfairly, you're going to be going to some customers telling them your cost is this high, but you didn't allocate it correctly, and so they're paying a disproportionate share of your costs, and now you get a bad rep for overpriced pirate. There are a lot of issues involved. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to say that $70,000 is my fixed cost, and that my management and labor is my variable cost. In a sense, if I don't send these fellows out to do any work or don't have to buy any materials for a job because it isn't there, then it's not a cost. But when they do work, it is a cost. The more they work, the more the cost. The lower the work, the lower the cost, so forth. What we want to figure out is what price do I need to charge for each one of those projects, 8 of them, in order to break even, cover all my costs. So, in this case, I can say 8 projects, each one for this price, however many dollars we're going to figure out, has got to cover what? It's got to cover my fixed costs, $70,000, plus my variable cost of $1,000 per job, 8. That making sense? So 8P has got to equal how much? 78,000 jobs. This is a real simplistic assumption. But when I do that, what's the price got to be? $9,000 $750 per project or per job. That's the answer I'm looking for initially. And again, where it comes from, in this case, is the number of jobs I'm going to do times the price that I'm solving for. It's got to equal my fixed and variable costs.
So we set it up the same way we did last time we did it?
Pretty much.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm not looking for an equation so much as I want you to understand the logic, because sometimes the information is presented in different formats. What would this tell you? Assume that in fact most of your projects was a standard thing. We go out, we put an air conditioner in, we do a little duct work, and we fix this, and every job's pretty close. And I know we're going to average, our goal is to average 8 projects a month, or an average of about 2 a week. Okay? How does that impact you and how you operate your business Monday morning when you go into work? To me, you go in there and the first thing you say is how many jobs we got on the books. And that's when, particularly in a small business, you look around and says, who knows? Who's talking to the customers? Who's in charge of advertising? Who answers the phone calls and the questions from the customers? And then you start figuring, whoa, damn, we better figure out somebody to be responsible for everything that's got to go on. How do we advertise? Let's say we're going to put in air conditioners for a business. How do we find people who need air conditioners? That's what you find out in Dr. Geeson's course, marketing, right? Got any ideas on that?
Commercials.
Okay. Let's say, because I'm going to want to keep it simple, we're going to avoid the commercial project. We're just going to do residential replacements.
It's like pass out flyers.
We're going to find people whose ACs are either marginal and about to quit or have quit. That's going to be our general working plan. Say again, how do we find them?
Oh, I said business cards.
Okay, we definitely need some way to represent ourselves. And certainly in one-on-one communication and meeting, we always want a business card to leave behind. And in fact, I would encourage you should have your own personal business card effective today, even if you're not done with the program, that says, here's my personal information, you know. And again, even though I'm old, I believe that every one of us can have a personal website, a personal email account, and we can be updating that website regularly. One of the things I'm contemplating in this program, in this course, is the development of portfolios online. There are websites where you build your own website. They're cheap, they're easy enough, I can do them. It doesn't get any more idiot-proof. But one of the formats offered is a portfolio. And so you would maintain your own portfolio website showing the projects you've worked on, the activities you've been involved with, maybe a sample of some of your writing, your resume. And if it's nice and flashy and good looking and professional looking and doesn't have any spelling and grammar and, you know, those kind of mistakes, that along with your business card and your phone number, you're in pretty good shape to go out and meet people. Now, for our business, that presumes you're going to go find these people. How would you find them?
You know, every once in a while, like, people hold, like, business gatherings, like, small businesses gather together, and then it's like a convention. They do conventions.
The Chamber of Commerce in Gainesville holds mixers once a month. And you have to be a business member generally, or good individuals can join the chamber, and then you go to the mixers. And that is we all sit around, have a drink, and chat, and you see the business cards flying. Good thing, and especially a good thing to practice your 30-second resume. You familiar with a 30-second resume? We're going to meet each other, we're going to introduce each other, and you go first, and you give me 30 seconds of why I would find it interesting and beneficial to know you. 30 seconds, time starts now. Also known as the elevator speech, right? And I've got the same one on board. And so we practice that at the mixers, and we get comfortable doing it. We improve on it. We find neat little ways to say things, little things to point out, you know. But we don't generally pick up a lot of business where everybody's there for a mixer because everybody else is looking for business. But we smooth up our routines. What else might we do?
You could get in with property managers, attend HOA meetings, go to neighborhoods that you know were developed X number of years ago where their units are likely to be going out. Put up your flyers in that neighborhood.
Yeah, we're kind of into a marketing course for a minute, but just to give this a little background. The term is influentials. Who are people that would influence a homeowner to replace his air conditioner? How would they know about it? Who would know about a lot of them? And then who or how would they direct that person to go get somebody to repair it? Property managers, particularly for landlords who have a house here, but they live in Minneapolis. Property managers are good. Many real estate firms manage property that way. Absolutely a great idea. Condominiums have varying terms of ownership, but the condominium or homeowners association in any neighborhood, if you can find out who runs it, when are they going to have a meeting, you've got to point. What is this like? This is like the competency you did on networking, except now you're networking for your business, not for yourself. So what I've said so far, though, is how do you go find the business? You don't have to do a lot of that before you realize this is a whole lot of time with a pretty low payoff. What do you want to do instead?
Business companies.
Have those businesses find you. So how do you do that?
Get a
The
good
business cards is a takeoff.
Get a good website and make sure you're on the search engines.
First thing is a perfect website, constantly updated, and then if you don't know anything about it, find somebody who does search engine optimization.
Make
So
sure-
when somebody puts in air conditioner repair replacement, yours comes up on that page of listings high.
Make sure that you give current customers some kind of a bird dog for.
Absolutely. Every customer gets 5 business cards. And maybe he gets a little extra card that says, if anybody you give this to fills it out with your name on it and they come to me and I replace their air conditioner, I will send you a personal check for $100. Okay? Or whatever. So how do we get our name out in front of people then? The homeowner association idea, well, now we have something a little better we can take to them. Maybe it's a brochure. Yeah, and we say, here's 25 of them. Next time you have your homeowner association meeting, please share them. Ask anybody who's interested. Give us a call. We give them a free inspection and a free estimate in case they think they're having any kind of issues at all. Now, what do we know else? We're out there competing with 57 other air conditioning companies. So how do we distinguish ourselves or differentiate ourselves from them? Am I selling air conditioners?
No.
So you're selling a
Service. You're selling.
What am I really selling?
You're
What is the
selling.
need that I'm going to satisfy for that homeowner?
a relationship with you.
That's going to come to that. But what is he really buying? He doesn't know me from Adam. He doesn't care how sweet I am. What does he want from me? He wants to be able to walk in that house, turn on the air conditioner, and that damn thing works. Okay? Now, if he's going to spend $10,000 or $15,000 doing it, he's got a lot of risk. So he needs a lot of reassurance that everything's fine. How do you reassure somebody that you've got the best air conditioning service and business and product in town?
Guaranteed testimonials.
Absolutely. Testimonials from former customers, on and on and on. So we're building all of that, but remember, we're not selling you, we're selling that nice, cool, comfortable room in the middle of the Gainesville summer.
And also your extra knowledge about which products will get you tax
Right.
discounts in
Oh,
your
yeah,
states
we have to
and
have a
city
wealth of
and everything
knowledge.
are all- yeah.
And once we get all this knowledge, technical and otherwise, we have to have social skills, presentation skills, and the ability to persuade. And then if we're successful, the business will grow. But it'll all come back down to your original comment, service. The quality of the customer experience. And so you're constantly asking, in the air conditioning business, what is it that I can do that can make this experience of spending $15,000 on an air conditioner something the customer is glad he did? You figure out the answer to that, you got the key to success. So, you can't go out there and just open the doors and think everybody's coming to you. You know, here, for example, I need about 2 jobs a week just to break even. I didn't put any profit in here, okay? Just to break even. So we can tell within the first 2 weeks of the business how we're doing. First 2 weeks, first 2 months, first 6 months of the business, we've done 4 jobs. What does that tell you? Time to start looking for a part-time job, because you ain't gonna be working for yourself. Too many people don't realize that till it's late. How would we change this if we said, well, I also need to make a profit to the business over and above my salary, that's in there, I'd like to see $20,000 a month. How does that change my calculation?
You have to add the 20,000 to the 70. which
Yeah,
is-
add that in just like it was a fixed cost. This is an amount that you want to obtain every month. You add it, you get 90,000 here, plus the 8, so you get 98,000. What's 8 into 98?
12,250.
12,250. So now this begins the process of saying, I have got to go out and find jobs that will pay me about $12,250 each on the average. And so if you go out and you look at a job and you negotiate it, you price it out, and you give them an estimate that comes in at $9,000, what is that telling you? You're probably still making money on the job. And you're keeping your people busy, that's good. But you got to do better than that on the average if you're going to succeed. Which means you've either got to go out and find bigger jobs, which means what? Maybe hunting bigger or higher, deeper pocket, higher end residential areas. Or you've got to go back and say, about those costs, I got to figure out a way to bring those down. Okay so far? That's pretty much simple break even, the way we'll do it. Let me present it in a little bit different format. A friend of mine and I, when I first started teaching at Santa Fe, Paul had experience in the pizza business. He'd run a couple of 3 different pizza shops. And he knew the internal workings and the cost management. And we used to go out and find a pizza joint, sit down there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, order a pitcher of beer, and count the ceiling tiles. Why? Because that told us how big the building was. And from that we knew, because we were aware of it, what was the rental rate in Gainesville in this location for this big a building. And we had pretty good numbers on that. We said, well, if they're paying that much for rent, how many tables have they got, and what's their capacity? And if you said, well, they could seat 30 people here at a time, probably they seat, let's say, 120 a day. And they've got, let's take a count, and we'd sit there and we'd count the employees, and he'd figure out about how many people they probably had in the kitchen that we couldn't see. And we said, well, we know the average pizza sells for, here's the menu, these prices. And after about 40 minutes, we'd sit down there and we could pretty well tell you how many customers they need to be coming in the door every day. And you would know after the first 3 days whether that business was going to be profitable or not. Or maybe over a space of a month, because some days are busier than others. That's what I would like you to come out of this class with, is that kind of sensitivity to be able to sit down and start looking at those kind of things. Mm-hmm.
I just had a question about the allocating the overhead.
Yeah.
If, say, a contractor were to improperly allocate his overhead, would
Yes.
he then have to go to the customer and say?
Oh, you can't do that.
Because that's what we had happen to us. We got an estimate from a contractor, and about halfway through, he came to us and said he had grossly underestimated the cost, and he needed more money.
So
basically.
the first thing that happens is when he gives you that estimate, it has his signature on it, and that's an offer for a contract. When you give him your deposit check or whatever, that's a contract, Jack. You want to break that contract? Talk to my lawyer.
Oh yeah, we fired him almost immediately.
Now, the problem with that is either A, he quits and he's halfway through the job and the roof is off your house,
Right.
or B, he says, okay, I'll do it for that. Then I'm really scared, because I don't know what he's going to be cutting on and where he may be just mad enough to screw me over on something. So that's why when we go out and we get an estimate for any kind of work going on in our house, we get at least 3 of them. We get word of mouth referrals from every friend we've got, and we call, what's the name of it?
Your business bureau?
No, Better Business Bureau, somebody's list.
Angie's List.
Who?
Angie.
Angie's List, yeah. See, there's another one out there called Emily's List. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I see
That's
that.
political. That's aimed at getting women more involved in politics and more represented. I belong to Emily's list.
Sorry,
I'm
Angie.
all for that. But yeah, we call Angie's List or join it, and we get names of contractors who have good reputations. Interesting you raised that. My wife and I are looking at doing a kitchen remodel and expansion to our house. We hope this summer. And we went to the home show, and we've got all the materials from about 4 different remodeling firms. And we're active right now calling our friends around town saying, what do you know about, what do you know about, do you know about?
That's what we did. We had great referrals from everyone. He's prompt, he's always on time, he always has a good price, and we don't know what happened with us.
So
Hey,
we'll
but
need to
did
know
you have
if
any
we
other
can-
estimates? And was he,
Yeah, we had a couple other estimates.
and he was in the ballpark?
Yeah, he was in the ballpark, and then we asked around, and everybody in Gainesville knew him, and they were like, oh my God, he's so great. Definitely go with him.
I would appreciate 1 minute of your time after class.
Me too.
I would like to hear this person's or firm's name.
Make sure you don't get on.
Damn Skippy.
Well, he's not a home builder, he's a barn builder.
He's a barn builder? Okay, I'd be interested in that too. Good. I'm trying not to get off topic about what happens when you make a customer mad. I don't know if you've ever done that in here. It's called the lifetime value of a customer. John Spence, my friend, was treated very poorly by a restaurant down in Fort Lauderdale. And so he went home and wrote him a letter and said, my wife and I come in usually twice a week at your restaurant because we love you guys. You treated us very poorly. Therefore, we're not coming in anymore. And so for the next year, you're not going to get this much money from us. And we're going to tell everybody we know. So we think we can cost you another 15 customers per year at this money. And we're going to continue telling people this for at least 5 years. So by the way you treated us tonight, you're going to have $50,000 less revenue over the next 5 years than you otherwise would have had. I promise you this. What do you suppose the restaurant did?
That's small.
The restaurant showed up at his door and said, here is certificates for free. Here is a cake we made just for you. When you call us, let us know the next night you want to come. We will have a limousine pick you up, drive you down. You will eat absolutely free. Anything on the menu, we're sorry. They did, and they had a great relationship. That's why we talk about businesses. If you have a bad experience with a business, how many people do you tell?
Everybody.
At least 3. If you have a good experience with a business, how many people do you tell? Most people don't even relay it. They don't come across. So if you're a business, it means you've got to keep pleasing people, and one unhappy customer is worth a lot of money to get them back on track.
Especially when they work for a large organization. I know I've stopped using many a vendor because of bad experiences
absolutely.
with them. And I also am a leader of an affinity group of my colleagues in over 16 units at UF that all do business with the same vendors. So they,
Well, the
They
last
need
time
to
John
keep a
was
good
treated
relationship.
poorly in town, he put the word out. John's got, I think, 8,000 friends on Facebook. He posted there. And not most of them, a great many of them are from right around here. That should scare the hell out of you. All right, let's try this one more time. A little different venue. You've got an assisted living facility. You've got beds for 80 residents. Your variable cost is $800 per month per resident. Your fixed costs are $60,000 per month. That includes all of your employees, the meals that you provide for your residents, your utilities, your insurance, your executive salaries, etc. Assuming a 75% capacity or 75% fill rate on your rooms, what price do you need to charge per month per resident to break even? haven't even started yet. I'm gonna let y'all worry with it for a few minutes. I want everybody to at least attempt it, see what you get. What does 75% capacity mean?
75%, 80.
Oh, 80.
I will have 75% of my 80 rooms, that's 3/4, that's 60 out of 80 rooms filled at any one time. So I'll have 60 rooms at whatever price I charge. This is my total revenue. That much money has got to cover my fixed costs plus my variable costs. My fixed costs we're given at $60,000 a month, and it's $800 a month per resident. So do you see how I set up the first equation? Logic. Remember the logic more than anything else. From here I'm going to get 60 times P is 64,800. Is that right?
No,
No.
no.
Not doing that very well in my head, am I?
Yeah, 108,000.
108,000, missed it, yeah. Dividing through then, P is 108,000 over 60, which is how much? 1,800? $1,800 a month for break even. Now, if you could find a residence in an assisted living facility for that today, I'd run away from it because it's going to cost about 4 times that, minimum. So let's plug in that I have decided, oops, also I need a profit on this thing of, I don't know, 40,000 a month. So what happens to my break even? $60 rooms at that price has got to cover the 108 plus 40, 148,000. So now what price do I need to charge?
I'm sorry, Professor, could you go back to?
I'm going to add $40,000 as a requirement up here for profit.
You said that you need to make 40,000 a month, that's your
A
goal.
month, that's my
correct?
goal.
Okay.
So that's, in a way, it's like a fixed cost. My target, my profit goal. So adding 60 plus 40 is 100, plus this, 48,000. So we got $148,000 we want to bring in every month. I got to do it with 60 beds. How much am I going to charge for each bed?
2466.67.
Okay. 2466 and change. Everybody okay with that number for break even?
No, that's with
Yeah,
profit.
profit.
With profit, I'm sorry, with profit.
That's what it's about.
Okay, so that's the calculation. Part of this calculation on an exam, by the way, I think should also include a little discussion. Okay? What do you think of 75% capacity?
Seems like shabby.
That means you got 20 rooms empty every month just sitting there.
Right. Makes me think there's something wrong with the facility.
If you're operating that for me and you got 20 empty beds every month, I'm gonna kick your butt. I'm not paying you for that kind of performance. I want to see this thing at 90%. Okay? But then we get into how do we increase utilization? How do we drive that up to 90%? Well, we're back into marketing, image, communications, service, relationships. Who are the influentials in this setting, assisted living? Who are
Family.
hospitals, doctors, and families? You bet. Very good. Not just hospitals, rehab centers such as that, okay? And sometimes people will go into an assisted living facility just because they need a couple of 3 months of some supervised care while they are rehabilitating or getting over a minor or maybe major surgery or illness, and they need some care and they don't have family or anybody else in town. So doctors' offices would be excellent referrals too. If you worked for me about once every 6 months, certainly once every year, I'm going to ask you to come in and talk to me and anybody else on the board of directors or the owners, and I'm going to say, give me a really good breakdown on how you're managing to spend $800 for every resident. To the penny. Okay? They better be real, justifiable costs. And if you're doing your job, one of the things you're going to do is come to me and say, Strick, I think maybe we need to spend another $50 a month on the residents because we can really upgrade the image, the quality of the service, and that way we can do a better job of filling capacity. Okay, let's listen to the argument. If we're still going to have 90%, that means we're still going to have 8 rooms empty at most times. What are you going to do with those?
Other uses.
What else can you use them for? You were here on the when we talked about this once before, right?
You rent them out.
Rent them out to who?
Family.
Families that come
Family
to
who
stay.
comes into town to visit? Or any other activities going on that would in some way complement what we're doing.
Elder daycare.
Yeah.
Elder daycare, absolutely. Good. What's one of the things we need in our equipment here? Assisted living means various degrees of assistance. Some people are very self-reliant. Others need a great deal of care. Probably one of the things we got to have is a small little bus so that we can take our residents around for various activities, etc. So we'll be talking about how much is built into all these fixed costs. How come that fixed cost dollar is, what's that? What am I getting for that? We'll talk about your salary. You're not allowed to talk about how much profit I want because I'm the owner, right? But your calculations, you okay, feeling okay with that? Calculations, logic. Probably won't see exactly this format. You'll have to use logic to get through it. But then discussion too, All right, that's the calculation on break even. Any other questions there, comments? Okay. Then let's do just a couple of time value of money, just to kind of review. Yeah, I knew I'd draw a hallelujah over something here. I found me a van I'm going to fix up and I'm going to make it my camping, traveling van. I can buy it for $41,000. The bank will loan it to me on a 5.5% note. They'll let me finance it for 24 months. I'm not going to put anything down. How much is my payment? Monthly payment. bingo. First one get an answer, scream it out. If you're wrong, we'll just laugh.
Oh, I didn't do a negative. That's fine. $187.92.
Missed a decimal point.
Oh, you got a
You, I think you used 4,100 instead of 41,000. Easy to do. Think about something. Listen to me for a second. If I'm going to pay $41,000 for something, and I'm going to do it over 24 months, how much is that on the average? That's without any interest. What's 41,000 divided by 24? $1,708 and something, okay? So my payment's got to be somewhere higher than that, but maybe not a lot higher in order to pay the 41,000. I got to pay more than that in order to pay the interest on the loan. Okay? Got an answer?
I got 1807 point, I forgot the decimal.
1807, I think it was 92.
Yeah.
That's my monthly payment. What is that if I pay it 24 times? How much money is that? $43,390 and some odd cents.
8 cents.
Okay, so what does that mean? I'm buying a $41,000 vehicle, I'm paying $43,390 for it, I'm paying $2,390 in interest, which is not too bad, over 2 years. Okay? Is everybody comfortable with $1,807 for a payment? Did everybody find that? If you didn't, do it. Or let me know why you can't or how you can't. That's the calculation over here. The amount I'm going to borrow is the present value, and I want to make it a negative number. Negative 41,000, press PV. Before you do anything, you clear the memory registers. Remember that? Clear TVM. I'm doing monthly payments, so I take the annual rate divided by 12 equals, and whatever number is displayed, I press IY. I'm going to make 24 payments. That's in. And then I hit compute payment, and that's where I get the 1807.
Ah.
Ha! Ha, or aha,
Aha.
or if you're from Georgia, well, damn. Okay, same thing. Good. We okay so far? Anybody not with me, please say so.
I got 84 cents instead of 98 cents. I got
Okay.
784.
Close enough. There's some rounding in there somewhere. Anything else? Anybody else got a problem? Here's my problem. I can't afford $1,800 a month. I can only afford to pay for this to the tune of $1,200 a month. Give me two alternatives. I really like that van. Huh? I ain't got no down payment. I work at Santa Fe.
Hey, refinance it and increase the years.
Good. Either increase the length of the loan Or, how else can I bring the payment down?
Find a better interest rate.
Find a better interest rate. Okay? If I was gonna increase the length of the loan, so I only had to pay $1,200, how long would I have to have the loan for? I want the payment to be $1,200. I wanna calculate in with all the same information. You see what I'm saying? Set it up and do that.
$31.81.
I got a little more than that.
Okay.
36.81.
3681?
Let's try again.
I got 37.24.
I did too. I got 37.24. Let's everybody do it again. We'll take a vote here. So.
37.26.
I have
37.24 months. So I would probably ask the guy if I could finance this over 3.5 years, 42 months maybe. Or 40 months, or something like that, right? So I would have a way of negotiating with him now. I can't do that original loan. But I'll tell you what I can do. If you'll finance me for 42 months at that rate of interest, I'll pay your price. Now I got the payments down where I can live with them. Okay so far? Everybody okay with that? Okay, go back to the original problem. This was going to be 24 months. And I'm going to pay the payment of $1,807. No, I'm not. I got to have a $1,200 a month payment. What rate of interest do I need to negotiate in order to do that? What'd you get?
2.65.
What kind of 2.65?
Negative 2.65?
Yeah.
Huh?
I got a negative 2.65.
A negative interest rate.
Yeah.
They'd have to loan me money and pay me interest in order to afford this thing. So we know that's not going to work. But I can, you see what you can do though? If you know the terms on a purchase like that, you can go back on your own and construct different ways to finance it with terms that would be something at least you could afford. Unfortunately, we can't do this for $1,200 a month in 24 months and pay $41,000 without them paying us. So that's not going to fly, so we'll try something else. All right? Let's do one last time value problem, just as practice. This is the old retirement problem. Okay? You are 25 years old. You're going to retire at age 65. You can earn 5% on your money. You want to have a $3,000 a month retirement check coming to you out of this particular retirement program. This is not your only one, but this is one of them. You need $3,000 a month when you retire, and your life expectancy is to live to age 84. You got to start today. How much money a month do you need to start saving? Two-part problem.
Professor Strickland,
Yes, ma'am.
why do you have present value?
That's how much money I'm going to need in the bank the day I retire.
Why not use future value?
Because it will be the present value for me at that point in time. It will become, what we're going to calculate will become what we need in the future at age 65. Bear with me just a minute, since I got a really squirrely answer here. Let's see here, let's do this again. 228. Everybody get that?
I'm lost. Yeah, I'm like, what are you?
I know at age 65, I need a payment of $3,000 a month. I know the applicable interest rate is 5%, but I'm doing it on a monthly basis, so 5 divided by 12. Monthly interest rate.
So anytime in the problems when we see the word monthly, we need to divide it by 12. because
And then
we're
take the
talking-
number of years that I'm going to receive this once a month, multiply it by 12.
That's right.
Okay,
I
so
remember now, yeah.
So you got 19.
Times 12,
But where did you get the 19?
because from age 65 to age 84 is 19 years. I'm going to get this payment out of my account every month for 19 years till the day I die, age 84.
So why didn't you use 25 to 65?
That's when I'm going to be saving. First, I've got to figure out how much am I going to need to be able to draw it out when I retire.
Okay, so the 19 years was your current age.
No, 19 years is the day I retire until the day I die.
Alright, so,
So over those 19 years, I want $3,000 every month coming out of my money. Okay? That means, and somebody else, see if you get that number. Anybody else get 622? It's not really encouraging when nobody got it.
hold on, give me a second, I'm clearing my,
Yeah, so am
Unless
I.
you're doing something wrong, I've come up with a different number twice.
Could be. Yeah, I come up with a different number now too. Just on the,
439?
yeah, hang on just a second. That sounded high anyway. 440?
I had 439, 583.
I got 440, 996. You got 439 something?
439,583.
I have 440.
Okay, there's a little rounding in there depending on how you set your decimals and that kind of stuff. So what does this number mean, $440,000?
That's how much you have to have the day you retire.
That's right. The day I retire, I need this much money in the bank. You okay with that, everybody?
But why would that be, I guess in my mind, what's confusing me is why would that be considered present value instead of future value?
Because I'm putting myself at age 65. How does my situation have to be? I need this much money then. So the next part of the calculation, I say, well, since I'm only 25 today, I'm going to need that when I'm 65, so that is now my future value, as you said. That's my goal. Does that make sense?
Keep going.
Okay. I figured out what I need when I get to be 65. Now I got to figure out how do I get there, because I'm 25 today. That means how many times can I save? Once a month for 25 years. 25 years, 12 times a year. That's how many payments I'm going to put in to build up this amount of money. So, still rounding a little bit. I'm going to put in 449.96 negative. That's going to be my future value. 25 times 12 is 300. That's going to be my N. My interest rate is still the same, 5% per year, but we're doing it every month. And then I want to compute how much payment I need to make every month from now till I get to be 65. I got $740 and change. I'm not sure I like that number, but oh no, look what I did by mistake. No wonder it sounds bad. How much time have I got till I retire? 40 years. I put 25 by mistake up here, my mistake. I've got 40 years. So I got 480 months worth of savings to do. So let's recalculate that. That's a little more reasonable. Anybody else confirm a number somewhere close to $288 a month?
$285.98.
$285, I got $288. Roundabout, I'd say put $300 a month in from now till you're 65 and you'll be okay. Okay? Look at the sequence here. We said, oh gee, how good off have I got to be when I'm 65 so I can take this money out every month? So you pretend to be 65 and say, how much money do I need present value today? You figured all that, oh damn, I got to have $440,000. Okay, now I'll go back, I'll be 25 years old, and I say, that's what I got to have in the future when I'm 65. So now it becomes a future value, and how long do I have to save to do it? You keep the logic straight, you're okay. All right? You can pretty well look for this problem on every exam, this kind of retirement problem. You want to go back to the TVM sample questions and work through those.
Oh, yeah.
Be sure you're ready to do any of those we have to throw at you. All right, any other questions? Comments?
Yay.
It's almost over.
FYI, our first graduates from the organizational management program are going to graduate this term.
All right.
I think we have 6 of them that are going to walk for graduation, 8 or 9 that are graduating. So, beginning of, I hope, some terrific things. All right? Peace.